Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a pretty crazy video here that's come out within the past 10 hours. It is Thomas Crooks seemingly walking or moving somehow on the roof. I believe he's walking based on how quickly he's going, but it's kind of a weird angle. And it is a crazy video because you can see Trump in the foreground and then Thomas Crooks on the roof. I mean, my goodness, you would think somebody, a security that's filming, like you would say somebody's up there. I mean, there were 100 different times that they could have said something. That's why I think there's something else going on here rather than just a complete lapse in security. That's kind of the story they're going with. Well, the Secret Service, unfortunately, did not do a good job. And then you've got, I don't know if you guys watched what Ted Cruz did like 2 days ago. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a crazy video here that's come out within the past 10 hours. It is Thomas Crooks seemingly walking on the roof with Donald Trump in the foreground, and it's caught on video. And I think a lot of these videos got confiscated. There was another big video that was released that was behind that initial fence that the person just recently got it back, and then they posted it everywhere. So it's like they confiscated a few of these videos and now they're coming out because they've been returned. But new video from the ground at the Trump rally in Butler shows Thomas Crooks moving around the roof, and I think he's walking, but it's kind of weird, but I do believe he's walking based on how fast he's going. Probably at the, because the roof, I mean, we know the Secret Service saying it slopes, but possibly the reason you only see his, the top of his body is because it's sloped down and he's walking at an angle, so most of his body is covered by that other part of the roof. So there he is right there, walking seemingly across the roof, and then you don't really see him because I think something blocks it. And then you can see him possibly setting up, get up. He's literally standing there and then get back down. So pretty crazy to see that. And I mean, the idea that there's video of it, he's moving around. It's not even like he just got up there, army crawled, and bang. He's lingering on the roof, walking around, finding the best angle, if you will. Possibly going back to get his gun or something. We really don't know, but it's just remarkable when you see something like that. I did also want to talk about this. So Trump has come out and said that he will ban gender reassignment surgery for children in all 50 states. And I think this is a huge bipartisan thing that a lot of people support. Many independents support it. Obviously, Republicans do as well. This would not be something Trump would be pushing for if there was not a lot of independent support. And so I don't know what the exact numbers would be on agreeing with this. There's a lot of liberals that say, oh, you should let them do whatever they want. But even some liberals say, no, it's bad. This could change their entire life. I mean, this is a young person. You ever heard of the concept of a tomboy? Well, imagine how many times that's happened nowadays where, a parent's over aggressively possibly thinking their child might be the opposite gender, which is something you should never do. You need to wait a while, preferably maybe when they're 18 or at least 16. And then you get this dude. This was Penguin, I think is his name or something. But he basically just is kind of the internet bro. He goes with the flow. He goes tries to be nice to everyone. And he's the type of dude who will take YouTube drama or take internet drama and just kind of dumb it down for people and say, yeah, this is what most people think. And he really doesn't have many original opinions. And that's what a lot of people were saying. Well, he had this debate, I guess, with Sneeko, who's another younger streamer. And so they had the debate, and this dude said that, if you're a child, you should be able to change genders. And I mean, I guess he got a significant amount of hate. I would imagine he probably thought that's what the common theory was, because, it's like, oh, we're inclusive and whatever, and it's supporting trans. Well, obviously it's not. And now he's off of the internet. He got too much hate. He couldn't handle it. This is someone, I guess, who is not used to it. And, saying that about children, that's very bad. And that's why Trump would not be doing this in an election year if it was not supported widely by possibly 70 to 80% of voters, which I believe it is. And then on top of that, this dude tries arguing for it for children. And I don't even think he's a political streamer. It was just kind of off the cuff. He was doing a debate or something. And he probably thought it was just the common belief, but it's not. And it got so bad for him, I guess, or maybe he's just not used to taking criticism. He has said that he's indefinitely going to be offline. And he's got a ton of views. He could certainly do that because he probably got so much money, but still, very interesting thing there. We've got Rogan coming out and saying, do you think they're going to try and take him out again? Michael Malice, yes. Joe Rogan saying, yeah, I do too. I think if they did that, this is not a one-time thing. They're going to do it again, right? And that's what everyone really thinks, but you really can't, predict it, because it's like everyone's predicting it. With Trump, it seems like a slow-moving plane crash. We just hope Trump is safe at this point going into the election. Who knows, with the improving polls, maybe they won't do anything, but it's not just the left. I do also think it's foreign, but then you think, well, what if they actually do take him out and then blame it on Iran with that, unstable situation happening there? That's something that they could do. This has been something that's been all over the news. Donald Trump going to this event in Chicago. Apparently Kamala Harris was like doing it over Zoom or something. I don't know why the Democrats are so obsessed with Zoom. I mean, it's a nice form of communication. I get it. But the idea with them, it's all Zoom, all Zoom. They're doing these Zoom calls for white guys for Harris. Like, is it 2020 still? I don't know why they're obsessed with Zoom. I haven't heard this much about Zoom since 2020. But you do have Trump getting just ambushed. I mean, that first question that reporter asked was brutal. And apparently they were blaming Trump, but he actually got there on time and the mics weren't working. So it was like they had to wait for 50 minutes. And they said, oh, it's because Trump wasn't there on time, but he was. And there's a few different clips where Trump, at the beginning, that was a brutal question, because it was one of those questions where she was like, you said this, all about black people, but how do you think you're going to get their support if you said all this bad stuff? So it's basically setting Trump up immediately to have to defend himself rather than go on the attack against Harris. Trump was trying to manipulate the questions and do what he could. There was another January 6th question, I believe, that he sidestepped. That's kind of what I guess they're telling him to do in terms of January 6th, because he'll do the whataboutism with January 6th on other events. And listen, if it works, it works. But there are Republicans that say, oh, he's not taking the bait when it comes to January 6th. Personally, I do think that's cope, because, he's just not answering the question. You could technically say that about any question if you don't answer it. Oh, you're not taking the bait. Well, no, he's just not answering it. And listen, maybe that's a good strategy. I don't know. But at some point, we know Harris is going to hammer it during the debate, whenever that is, the January 6th stuff. They're going to try and expose Trump. He's going to have an answer at some point. It's not this whole thing where it's like, there are answers for Trump, especially all the stuff that's come out about Nancy Pelosi withholding all of the police and everything like that, because they wanted to make it as bad as humanly possible. There's proof of that now that Trump can use, rather than constantly sidestepping it. It's a sign of weakness. But listen, if it works, and that's what Trump is being told to do, and just not talk about it, that's his strategy, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, when it comes to this, obviously going at Kamala Harris, I don't know, man. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this race stuff. Like, what does it matter if she's like when I look at Kamala Harris, I don't think of a black woman. I don't even think of an Indian woman. I just think she's mixed race minority. That's what I think. Why? I guess it's because she's trying to get the black vote, and now she's got all these black rappers endorsing her and everything like that. But I'm just already tired of the whole race stuff. And Trump is trying to hit back and say, she was Indian, and Vivek said something very good on X, basically saying that when it's convenient, she's an Indian, and then now that it's convenient to be black, she's black. So it's like, come on, she's a mixed race minority. This whole thing, she's trying to, utilize, pivot, and use one and use the other. It's a very evil thing. It's a deceitful thing to do, when in reality, she's really neither. She's not 100% either. It's just like, when I look at her, I don't see a black woman. That's just not what I see. It's just a mixed race minority person. You've got Rachel Scott opened her interview with Trump by accusing him of being racist and criticizing black politicians and journalists. Trump responded masterfully, pointing out that he has showed up for the interview while Kamala Harris did not. And yes, I think they wanted to do it over Zoom or something, but Trump ends up showing up for it. And if that was actually the first question, that was a brutal question to start out on, because again, it immediately puts Trump on the defensive. When you go to these events, you really want to kind of use it as a potential rally or propaganda for yourself. And when you get questions like that, you're immediately forced to try and defend yourself. It's hard to do. You've also got, this is a crazy situation, a TikToker and self-described feminist, Liz Plank, is tricking men into giving her their phone so she can sign them up for Kamala Harris's email list. The influencer says the men thought she was putting her Instagram in their phones as she flirted with them. This is the best part of this. She says she is doing this because nothing will get you out of the house, quite like an adjudicated rapist being this close to the nuclear codes. What a dumb bitch. Do you not realize Trump had the nuclear codes for 4 years and we were safer than we've been the last? It's just not even worth it. And then we've got this. The story in today's polls really doesn't make sense. It's not about the jump in favorability numbers for Harris, but rather that about 70% of voters say the country is headed in the wrong direction. Who's heading it? And that's the VP. And so this is why I say this reminds me of the Chicago situation when they said, no, we don't want Lori Lightfoot. They got her out and then they replaced her with someone somehow even more left and even softer on crime who was worse. It's the exact same situation. Have you guys seen the ad that Harris put out, the Harris campaign with the border? It is so bad. I mean, like the whole idea that Democrats of all people in the year 2024 are going to be tough on immigration. There is no way that anyone can believe that. That administration, day one, when they got in, not only, well before that, they fought Trump on actual funding to try and secure the border with the wall. They didn't want to fund it at all. Then you get to Biden getting in. Day one, they put executive orders just completely destroying all of Trump's, progress when it comes to the border. They had the return to Mexico policy that was destroyed. Biden, I'm sure, doesn't want to talk about that. But it's just like, my God, these people, they called Trump racist in 2016 for trying to secure the border. And now they're saying that they're going to do it after 4 years and it's this bad after Trump left. I mean, it's next level gaslighting. You can't make it up. And I don't think people really buy it. And this person, it's right. Like, the country is in a horrible spot right now. And the person in charge, like, are we just going to elect an even worse person who's technically already been involved in this administration as the VP? Now, people do say the VP is more of a figurehead role. There's not a lot of power there. But we know, obviously, Kamala Harris is very far left. She's not going to contribute anything positive to the border. And we know what Elizabeth Warren said. They want the illegals to stay in this country. They want them registered. They want them citizens. They want them voting. That's a free extra voter block there. And that is the big problem. And you know what? This is another thing that I saw that's also very important. Good thing I remembered this because you can see they're talking about Japan's population collapsing. And it is. And so why would Japan's population be collapsing while the United States and Europe is still doing all right? It's because we import, immigrants. Japan is very strict. Now they're starting to do it more because their population is collapsing so much. But we get a lot of immigrants to replenish the natural-born citizens having less children, because it's not like it's not happening in the United States. It is. Difference is America and Europe are solving the problem with immigration en masse. So we're just taking in anyone that wants to come in. We don't care, your past, your criminal status or anything like that. There's no background checks, especially with Biden. So population will be steady or growing just to make up for the other people. Solving the problem, it is better to have your population collapse than make France into the Sierra Leone. And so, yeah, I mean, just if you really think that's going to solve things by importing a bunch of immigrants who do not agree with your culture, it's just a bad situation. You don't want to be doing it. That's why I've said Trump needs to shut the border down immediately. I think he's going to do it and then start the deportation. We have to shut the border down because there's so many illegals in the country already. I mean, I wouldn't fully shut the border down if somebody has like legit, like they're really desirable, they're going to contribute to society. I'm still fine with them coming in. Remember, Japan does let people come in, but they've got a 99% decline rate when it comes to immigration. That's what they've got. So I would say it's very strict. It's Japan-like standards. And you say, well, it's going to collapse. For the United States, that would take so much to happen for our population to actually affect the country. And then they say, well, the illegals, the immigrants, they add to the GDP. Yeah, but not per person GDP. The per person GDP, because all of these illegals are coming into the country, they will obviously add to it because there's going to be more activity in the economy. The per person GDP goes down, so it's harder for people to make more money. It's like in and of itself inflation when you bring all these people over, and now there's more competition for jobs. So it is, in essence, worse for people, and you're left to decide, do you replenish? This is the decision. Do you try and convince people, natural-born citizens, to have more children and make it easier? That's what J.D. Vance was saying. And by the way, what J.D. Vance was saying was, it's agreed upon by everyone. I guess it was just the way he said it with the cat ladies, whatever. But he is right. There's going to be tax breaks for if you have a family. We're incentivizing it because it costs money to have a family. It's very easy to just say no. I want to buy a big house, things like that. Having a child it's a 6-figure thing. So you're going to you have to incentivize it so we get more of a population. And so that is the number one thing we should be doing rather than relying on mass immigration. A lot of the mass immigration is not going to be, extremely desirable to the point where you're getting in all these scholars and all these people. I mean, I would say still, make it very strict, but you can still accept people. But this is not what we want to do. We do not want to replace our population with mass immigration. And that, you talk about they're saying, oh, you're being replaced. No, that's literally happening. I mean, honestly, white people are having less kids. They're being replaced with immigrants. I mean, is that not, that's I'm just explaining what's happening. And so the dynamics there, when Trump gets in, he needs to help us with the immigration. He will. But the problem is it's going to be ratcheted up tenfold if it is Harris, because they're going to do this thing. And this is how evil they are. Right now, they have to play this game. And we know it's the most ridiculous charade. It's like a dog trying to be a cat almost. That's how ridiculous it is. Like a dog, almost in a Halloween costume. They're like, yeah, you know what, guys? We do care about the border. We do want border security. The Democrats talking about trying to secure the border. The Democrats who said in 2016 it was literally racist to secure the border. And they fought Trump on funding for the wall. He wasn't able to complete it. They said it was a waste of money. But because Biden was getting crushed in terms of immigration, he had a net approval on immigration of -30. They have to do this thing because they're trying to remain in power. Like, oh, we care about immigration, and give it a year into Harris's term, it's going to go right back to what it was. Or at the very least, they're not going to deport people. They will. All of the people that have crossed the border, some people say it's 10 million, 15 million, whatever it is. They're not going to deport many of them. Maybe they'll take some of the criminals back if they can find them. But many of the people will be staying in the country. Elizabeth Warren confirmed that. So this is a big, big problem if Harris ends up winning. But I still don't think Harris is going to win. And then here's the question about January 6th. Trump spends 3 minutes putting on a masterclass and not taking Rachel Scott's bait on January 6th. Well, I mean, again, like you could say that about any question. If somebody asks me a question that I don't want to answer, and then I just pivot to another talking point, and then somebody praises me like, "Oh, you didn't take the bait." I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, that's what Trump, I'm sure, has been told. Don't discuss January 6th. It's going to make you look weaker. Although I do think with the recent stuff that's come out about Nancy Pelosi, I do think when you look at the situation, even with Trump nearly being killed by a far leftist, Trump has a legitimate leg to stand on and can argue the January 6th thing. Now, there's some other things in January 6th or surrounding January 6th with the electors, things like that. That's going to be tougher to argue. But when it comes to the event itself, Trump can argue that easily, but apparently he just doesn't want to. And then, another thing, he got the DEI question finally, because everyone's like, what is he going to do with the DEI question? He really didn't talk about it very much. And, she was like, are you going to tell your supporters to stop calling Kamala Harris a DEI candidate? And he basically pivoted. So obviously he didn't say, yes, I'm going to. He just said, he pivoted to another thing. I forget what he said, but he didn't call her DEI. I'm guessing that would probably turn off independent voters if you call her DEI. That's what people were telling me, like, you shouldn't do that. That's going to turn off independent voters. I mean, all right. It is what it is. We know what happened. I would just explain to her, but again, he's trying to win independent voters, I understand, but I would just explain to her, this has been confirmed by the Democrats. They said they needed a minority female to balance the ticket because Biden was was -2. Harris is +2. This has all been explained. It's all been explained. And this all happened during BLM in the summer of 2020. So does it not all add up when you've got black dudes on TV saying you better pick a minority female? I mean, it's absurd. And they say, I'm not even going to get into that. But when it comes to Trump, it is what it is. You're glad that he showed up there. Now he's got a rally tonight. So we'll see. I mean, he's going everywhere. This is really good by Trump trying to weather this media storm with Harris, who, they've convinced people is like this goddess, apparently, even though she was a horrible VP. She had so many just terrible quotes about the border, not visiting the border. Yeah, that's a future president. And I mean, it's obvious the Democrats did not elect her into anything. She was chosen because of DEI, and now they've thrust her into this position because Biden was insanely weak and very old. Biden didn't want to leave. He got blackmailed. They had to get him out, and now here is Harris. So that is kind of the situation and the summary on that. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Links to that's always in the description.